I used to think testing someone's love was crazy. Like, who does that? Well, I'm about to tell you how I turned into exactly that kind of person. And honestly, I'm still not sure if I regret it, or if he just proved my point. I'm Claire, 35, and this is how I managed to blow up the best relationship I've ever had just to see if it was actually real. You know how they say working in certain jobs changes how you see the world? Try being a paralegal handling divorces every single day. I'm drowning in paperwork from people who swore they'd be together forever, only to end up arguing over who gets the dog or the air fryer. Seeing love fall apart over and over again kind of messes with your head. It made me cynical, skeptical even, about the whole idea of forever. And maybe that's where it all started. This need to test love like it was some fragile experiment instead of something you're supposed to nurture. But before I dive deeper into my mess, if you like stories about real relationships, tough lessons, and emotional twists, make sure to subscribe. We share daily real-life stories that might just make you rethink everything you thought you knew about love. Now, back to the disaster I created. I met Ethan at a coffee shop. Yes, the cliché kind where he spilled his latte on my laptop, and I pretended to be annoyed while secretly thinking he was cute. He had this charm, not in the flashy way, but the kind that sneaks up on you. Kind eyes, easy smile, and a way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room. We clicked instantly. Dates turned into weekends, weekends into plans for the future. He was everything I thought I wanted. Attentive, supportive, genuinely good. But here's the thing. When you're used to seeing love fall apart, it's hard to believe when it's going right. I started overthinking. Does he love me as much as I love him? Would he fight for me if I pushed him away? Or am I just convenient? These thoughts festered until one day, fueled by nothing but my own insecurity, I decided to find out. I think we need a break, I told him casually over dinner, like I was discussing the weather. Ethan looked at me, confused, hurt flashing in his eyes, but he didn't argue. If that's what you want, he said quietly. No dramatic fight, no grand gesture to convince me otherwise, just acceptance. At first I was smug. See? He didn't even try. Guess I was right. But days turned into weeks, and the silence grew louder. I expected a text, a call, maybe even him showing up at my door, demanding answers. Nothing. It was like I'd been erased from his life as easily as deleting a contact from your phone. That's when it hit me. I wasn't proving a point. I was losing him. I told myself to hold out. Give it time. He'll miss you. But as time passed, I wasn't sure if I was waiting for him to miss me or if I was just hoping I hadn't made the biggest mistake of my life. Curiosity got the best of me, and yes, I did the thing. I checked his social media, and there he was, smiling, laughing, surrounded by friends. Not a single post that screamed heartbreak, no sad quotes, no cryptic captions. Just living his life. I panicked. I texted him, something casual like, "Hey, just checking in, hope you're doing okay." No reply. Days later, I sent another. "I've been thinking about you." Still nothing. The pit in my stomach grew. I'd pushed him away, expecting him to chase me, but instead, he just kept walking. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I showed up at his apartment unannounced, my heart racing. He opened the door, surprised to see me, but not in the way I'd hoped. Gone was the warmth, the softness. He looked at me like I was just someone he used to know. "Hey, Claire, what are you doing here?" His voice was polite, distant. I wanted to talk. "I miss you," I blurted out, tears threatening to spill. He nodded slowly, letting me in. We sat on his couch, the same one where we'd spent countless nights watching movies, our legs tangled together. But now there was a space between us that felt wider than the Grand Canyon. "Why?" he asked simply. I tried to explain. About my fears, my insecurities, how I thought if I pushed him away, he'd prove how much he cared. He listened quietly, then said something I'll never forget. "Claire, love isn't about passing tests. It's about showing up even when it's hard. I did show up. You just didn't see it. I wanted to scream, to beg, to undo every word I'd said that night at dinner. But it was too late. The damage was done. He wasn't angry, just done. And that's the worst part. When someone doesn't leave you in a blaze of fury, but in quiet resignation, knowing they've given all they could." I left his apartment that night, feeling more alone than I ever had before. Not because I was single, but because I'd sabotaged something real for the sake of my own doubt. And guess what? He didn't come after me. No grand gestures, no last-minute confessions. Just silence. Weeks turned into months. I heard through mutual friends that he was seeing someone new. She seemed nice from what little I could gather. Not that I stalked her Instagram or anything. Okay, maybe a little. She looked happy. He looked happier. So here I am telling you this story, not for sympathy, but as a cautionary tale. If you're lucky enough to find someone who shows up for you, don't test them. Don't create problems just to see if they'll fix them. Because sometimes people don't play games. They just leave. And if you're still here, thanks for listening. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, real, raw, and maybe a little painful. Because sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we bring on ourselves.